Hello everyone and welcome back to another Brad Teaches video. Today we are looking at, as you can see, the pen tab, which is our light green right here on the left. And the nice part is, I feel like most of our blocks for the pen is pretty straightforward and pretty easy. So here I'm going to take out some of the first ones that we would work with. You have a clear block, which is pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and start by demonstrating some of these through movement. So if I work on some of my first blocks and I click pen down, now we can't see it, but the pen is down. And if I move 10 steps, you can see that my sprite leaves a little trail everywhere I go. However, if I click pen up and I try to do the same thing, that line no longer continues. And I'll move and click some more, and my pen is no longer drawing. If I click clear, it'll clear the entire canvas of any lines that have been made at all. If I want to check and see if the pen is down or not, I can click and use this Boolean value right here, where I click pen down, that Boolean value becomes true, and when I click pen up, it returns to false. If I want to change the pen color, I can of course do this, and I have a classic sort of hue selector right here. Instead of red, I want it to be maybe blue. You can see that actually changes the icon of the original sprite icon for our sprites right here. So now if I put the pen down and I move, that line, as well as my sprite right here, is now entirely blue. As you can see on screen, I have a sort of helper script that is going to help me demonstrate some of the blocks that we're about to work with. Here I start by clearing. I go to the center of the stage. I also set my pen color to blue. I put the pen down and I point in one particular direction. Then I repeat 4 times, moving, turning, and then I pull my pen up. If we do that once, you can see I get a perfect square right there, starting in the center, going off to the right, and then coming all the way back down. Let's go ahead and add a block here. What if I want to change the pen hue by a particular value, let's say 25. When we run our script then, you can see that each time we get to a corner of the square and we're about to rotate, we change our pen hue by 25, which changes the color, and now I have that nice multicolored square drawn right there in the center of the screen. But I can also change several different things. What if I want to change my transparency? Here I can click, and you can see it is rotated all the way through, and let's check using our pen hue reporter what the transparency is. You can see there it reports that the pen transparency is 100, which tells us that when we have a pen transparency of 100, it's a hard word to say, that means that we can fully see through our pen and our sprite at that time. Let's go and we can manually set different things that we want to do. So here I'm going to set my pen transparency to 0, which means that I have a fully untransparent sprite. And now my pen transparency, of course, is going to report 0. Beyond just the color and the transparency, we can also change the width or the boldness that our pen draws on screen. So right now you can see I get this pretty thin line, might make it a little bit difficult to see. Let's go ahead and set our pen transparency, and then we are going to change the pen size every time we go through instead of the transparency. So here, let's set it to something like 10. Let's see what kind of effect it has. You can see there, 10 is a pretty crazy value. I'll drop that to 2 maybe for now. And every time I draw, right now it's pretty large. I'm going to go ahead and set my pen size to 1. I'm going to add that to the beginning of my script. And here you can see we get a slightly bolder, larger line every time we go. And each time we rotate too, I want to kind of point out to you that you get that little sort of pen start to each one of your lines. So they don't exactly flow together well because you increase them as you're moving along that new line. What if we just want to put an image of our sprite on screen? Right now, I have the basic sprite, which is just the little pointer right here. If I hit the stamp block and I move our sprite, you can see now we have that permanent image. So it no longer draws a line, but it draws a sort of after image of whatever your sprite looks like. Let's also use the fill block, and let's use that and demonstrate it by moving the sprite to the center of our little square. If I hit fill, it's going to take the color of that sprite and set the rest of the inside of that little drawing, which is all connected by pen, to that color. Here, if I do it on the rest, it's going to set that entire script right there to the wrong color. And let's see how to best set that back. I think if I want to go back to like white and I want to do fill, I wonder if it'll even work. Looks like in this case, it might not. As you can see, to demonstrate some of our final blocks, I've cleared the screen of our fill, and I've also got sort of a little bit of a different setup here. I have a really large second sprite in the background, which I've given a stop sign costume, and I've also increased in size. And I've also changed our main icon right here to a bat, which I promise is going to make sense in just a second. Here, the rest of my helper script on the left remains pretty similar, although I've drawn my bat in a different direction, and I've also put this in the front layer, which is going to be important when I show you the paste on block. So here, the paste on block is going to tell me where, it's not going to tell me, it's going to put my bat on top of another image. So here I've set it inside of my repeat block, and now I can paste on, and I've selected sprite 2, which is my stop sign sprite. If I click this script, you can see that my sprite starts in this little left-hand corner and is now implanted an image of itself on the red stop sign sprite. Of course, the resolution of that red stop sign sprite isn't great because I have kind of increased it pretty far in size, but you can see that that faint image is there. Let's also look and see what happens. We're going to go ahead and do this, go to costumes and stop, and then go back to our main sprite. I want to increase this to maybe 20, where my bat sprite is now going to kind of curve along the inside of the stop sign right here. And now instead of leaving just one, you can see it leaves several. So you are now able to paste on the inside of sprites. Basically transplanting images over one another. Of course, one thing to keep in mind is that the sprite that you want to paste in front of the other does need to be ahead in layers, and it also needs to be a sprite that is not the main, or I should say the default custom turtle sprite right here. Let me show you one more time with the same movement what the cut from sprite block looks like. So right here, you can see that it has added its image, even though it is blurry for us, all along the inside right there. The same thing looks different now. You can see I still have the pen trailing behind it, increasing in size, but it has now cut clear holes where everywhere that bat was going, and it has now cleared that image. So that is it. That is the entirety of our pen blocks in Snap. I please hope that you do join us for our next one, which I think is going to be maybe a 2 or 3 parter, which is our control blocks. Thank you very much for viewing.